Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Tammy, and today I just wanted to do a little speed review of some of my latest samples that I've purchased. And I'm also going to do a little recap of the samples that I reviewed a couple weeks ago on my channel and just let you know my up-to-date thoughts on those and how they're working out for me so far. So if you're interested to see how I'm liking my new perfume samples, just stay tuned. Perfumes that I featured in my last Sniff With Me video was Parfums de Marly Valaya. I did really like that one. I love anything musky, but it was just my first impression that you saw, and so since then I've worn it a few times. So the first time that I gave it a full wear was when I went on the treadmill one day, and while I was on the treadmill I was experiencing a lot of different things. I thought at one point I smelled peppermint tea, so that told me that it was really like fresh and bright. At one point I hopped off the treadmill and kept on running right up the stairs here into my bedroom where I am today, and to compare it to my white cube, the Narciso, the original white cube, because that's what, in my head, that's what I was smelling. I was like, it's really like that musky, powdery white floral. And so I came up and I grabbed my white cube is sitting right over there, and I smelled it. I'm like, okay, I think they're really similar. So I sprayed a little bit on my hand and I waited, and the more I smelled it, I was like, well, actually, no, they're not really that similar. They do kind of have a little bit of a similarity. So when I went to bed that night, I wanted to try it again. I sprayed it on one side of my neck, and when I got up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom, I was just sitting there with my eyes closed, and I was like, what's that smell? I smell something. Oh, it smells good. What is that? Now, I spray so many different perfumes. Sometimes I really do forget what I sprayed when I went to bed that night. I forget like where I sprayed what. Sometimes there's 2 or 3 different perfumes all over my body. And so I got back into bed and I was thinking and thinking as, well, I was going to be falling back asleep, but I was thinking like, what was that? And I never could think of it until I woke up that morning, and it was the first thing I thought of when I woke up the next morning, and I thought, wait a minute, that smell from last night, what was it? So I took my little spaghetti strap of my nightie and I smelled it. I'm like, oh my gosh, what is this? This is amazing. I forget what I sprayed. So I eventually remembered it was Valaya. But what it was reminding me of that next morning when I smelled my little spaghetti strap was Gucci Bamboo and Pure Poison. So you've got that like fresh, soapy, musky, clean, white floral, and that was what it was giving me, but it was stronger than those. And that lasted on that little strap like the next 2 or 3 nights that I went to bed. If I pulled it up, I could smell it. It lasts forever. Just on a little thin piece of material, it lasted forever and ever. I really like it. I mean, I don't know if I'd ever really get a bottle, but I just love that I know how it smells, and I think it's actually really amazing. So that's my update on Valaya. Now, as far as Xerjoff Lira, I kind of was getting the idea towards the end of that first sample sniff video that I'm like, I'm not sure, this may be a little bit too gourmand for me. I did give that another wear, and I was like, oh, I think it's a little too gourmand for me. I do like gourmands, but I really like them to be balanced with other notes, woods and musks and florals, more than just the gourmand. And even though it's really pretty and really delicious, I just don't know that I would wear it that often. So what are your thoughts on Lira? Is it too sweet for you? Is it too gourmand for you? Or is it just right? I do really like the balance of the lemon with the sweet, but it just was overall too gourmand for me. I have worn Pierre Guillaume Le Musc et le Peau a couple more times to bed, and I'm still really enjoying that regardless of what has been said about it. And I won't, you know, spoil that in case you want to go back and watch that video, but I am still really enjoying it. I think it is so pretty, musky, soapy, comforting, fresh, and yeah, I'm still loving that. I did spray Blue Heart again. I was listening to Spicy Looks, Neesha from Spicy Looks, and she was smelling Blue Heart and she was going crazy over it. And I was like, hey, I have that sample. I'm going to smell along with her. So I went, and even though I'd already smelled it, I went and grabbed it, sprayed my little stick, and I'm like, okay, now listening to her talk about it, and she's a little bit more of an expert on perfumes than I am, and so I was like kind of listening to what she was saying about it, and I was smelling it. I was like, okay, I'm seeing what she's saying. Like, it is pretty, I do get that saffron. It is kind of like classy. And then a couple days later, I think I still have the stick here on my makeup table because I was doing my makeup. Yeah, I was doing my makeup while I was listening to Neesha. And I can still smell it on the stick. Now that was Saturday and this is Monday. So that's 1, 2. No, that was Friday and this is Monday. So it's been a few days. And I can still smell it on there. Now, this is, I think I could really get to like this one, but it is just a little advanced for me, but I'm getting there. I'm getting there. I can definitely see the beauty in it. So that's my update on Blue Heart. Okay, Amouage Guidance update. This is crazy good. I still am not crazy about the opening, really, but the dry down is, it's incredible. It gives me a little bit of the kind of vibe of Crystal Noir, kind of that sexy, I don't even know what's in, I forget what's in Guidance. But it does give me a little bit of the vibe of Crystal Noir, which is one of my favorite scents of all time. So I truly love the dry down. It's full price is almost $500 Canadian, so it's not something I'm really interested in getting. I just love that I know what it smells like. I love that I've been able to smell it. Like, is that coconut in there? I don't know, like, but it's, or like sandalwood, it's sandalwoody. There's some sort of interesting wood in there with a sweetness, like a sweet wood. It's really, really, really good. I do like it. That's my update on Amouage Guidance. I really like it. Actually, I'm having trouble remembering all the samples that I did. Shunkoin was one. I still really like that one. Like, that's really powdery, cozy, slightly sweet scent. I really like that. Now, Amber Musk by Aerin. I wore that to bed one evening and I was loving it. It was giving me, so I had quite a moment on my other video where I was smelling it for the first time, just a total first impression, and I thought I smelled a little bit of oud. I looked up the notes. It did have oud. I was super excited that I actually figured that out. But I wore it to bed. The night that I wore it to bed, oh my, I actually loved it so much. It reminded me a little bit, like, not really, but like a little bit of like Intense Cafe, Roses Vanille, that sort of thing. It just had that sexy oud, but very sweet. This is like really, really good. I think the reason that it was very faint to my nose when I smelled it in that video is because I had so many of these other strong scents sprayed on everywhere else that this kind of got lost in the mix. But just wearing it by itself to bed, I absolutely loved it. It gave me that sexy, kind of dark, mysterious, yeah, I liked this one. Okay, so that's enough for the updates. I'm just gonna do a couple quick speed reviews on my newest sample order that just arrived in the mail. So in my previous video, I had popped up a little screenshot of my newest sample order that's going to be arriving in the mail, and it has arrived and I've sniffed a lot of them. Now, let's get the bad news out of the way first. 3 of the samples in that order were by Theodoros Kalotinis, and I'm not a fan of any of them. I hope that Theodoros is not watching this video. Is there Theodoros, or is that just the name of the company? Who knows? But I hope that the people at that company are not watching this video, and chances are they're not, let's be honest. I had got a 5 ml decant of Velvet Chocolate because I'd heard so much good about it. And I will not spray this on myself. I sprayed it in the air. I smelled it in the air, and I was smelling it from the atomizer, and I don't like it, and I don't want to spray it on myself. Now, that's not really fair, is it? I do need to give it a spray on my skin just to see what it will do. And I still think it has hope maybe for layering in those scents that I have where I want the chocolate to come out. Like, for example, Venom of Love. I have a full bottle of that I haven't even opened the plastic on because I have a sample of it. And all I can smell is the cherry. I don't get the chocolate in that. And I am letting the sample kind of macerate and sit there, and I'm gonna give it another try and see if the chocolate does come out. But if not, I would try velvet chocolate with it. But I just don't like it. And all I wanna say is that it smells medicinal to me. It smells very like if you were trying to get your child to take cough syrup and they wouldn't take it, and so you put chocolate in it, try to make them take their cough syrup. So you put a bunch of chocolate and they still wouldn't take their medicine. So then you added like 5 teaspoons of sugar and stirred it up and let that dissolve. And then it still wasn't chocolatey enough and sweet enough for them to take their medicine. So then you added maple syrup and you added as much sweetness as you could. And then they finally took their medicine because it was sweet and chocolatey. Basically what I'm trying to say is it has a medicinal smell to me, and I am going to give it more of a chance. That's just a speed review, first impression, just from spraying it in the air and smelling it from the atomizer. I don't like it so far. Give me a chance. Give me, you know, maybe I could come back and revisit that. I sprayed Coffee Addict and I didn't like that either. I did spray that on my skin. That was super, super, super sweet and burnt smelling to me. It did have a coffee smell. I couldn't stand it. I can't stand it. Let me read you my notes. Overly sweet coffee. Creme brulee, burnt maple syrup, more burnt creme brulee than coffee. Coffee with molasses that boiled dry on the hot plate, scrubbed off. I could not stand it. I couldn't stand it. I washed my hands 2, 3, or 4 times trying to get the smell off. I did not like it at all. I'm not going to be trying this one again, so there won't be an update on Coffee Addict. Sorry about that. I'm so sorry if any of you like it. I mean, we know by now that perfume is completely subjective and everyone has a different nose, everyone has different skin chemistry, everyone has different taste. So don't be offended, please. I sprayed Lemon Tart the next day. I was pretty disappointed with this also. It was an overly sweet candy lemon, but it still had that lemon pledge cleaning smell to it. This was also a no for me. And again, no offense to anyone who likes it. I'm sure that on you it smells wonderful. It just is not for me. By the way, when I sprayed it in the room, my son was like, "What is that?" "Oh, strong candy, he said. So it's definitely like, I think this brand maybe is heavy on the sweetness, and now I know that I can't do this particular perfume brand. So my next 2 samples were from Tiziana Terenzi, and they are Cassiopea and Andromeda. And I tried these one morning. I sprayed one on one hand and one on the other, and I really liked them both. They're both sweet. Let me just read my notes. So this is Cassiopea. So that smells exactly like it did to me the first time. The very first spray smells exactly like Paris Hilton Gold Rush. And I love that little perfume. It's a cheapie, but it smells quite a bit like Victor and Rolf Bonbon and like Cassiopea as well. Yeah, very sweet but warm, like a baked fruit crisp with sugar, like very warm and sweet. Andromeda. So Andromeda, I say, was not as sweet as Cassiopea, but it was still sweet. It gives me that cherry Trident gum vibe. So it's kind of like you know how if you got cherry Trident gum, it's very, very pale pink and there's a powdery coating on the outside of the gum. That's kind of the vibe that I'm getting from Andromeda. So those are just quick first impressions on those 2. So another day I compared Vicebomb by Simone Andreoli to Ruby Red by the House of Oud. And when I sprayed Ruby Red, it was like sort of an instant love, like an instant like, oh my gosh, yes, this is, I had heard it was like Hugo Boss Deep Red, which I love. I talked about in my 9 perfumes that I'm honored to own video. It did smell to me like Hugo Boss Deep Red. And I think there's a Bond No. 9 one that also is supposed to smell the same, like Chinatown maybe. Anyways, let me check my notes. Instant love, instant wish list is what I wrote. Everything that's good about deep red, but with less powderiness. Then I wrote sexy, sexy, wow. But that's not where the story ends with Ruby Red. Let me just switch for a second to Vicebomb. Vicebomb was another one that Neesha was talking about the day that I watched her video when she was smelling Blue Heart and I sniffed along with her. She bought a full bottle of Vicebomb. She absolutely loved it. Now I sprayed it and the very first thing that I thought it smelled like was a Shirley Temple. My mom always used to order Shirley Temples when she would go, and there's a funny story. She used to work for the dentist on the island and they went on a trip one time and she ordered Shirley Temples. Well, he didn't know that they weren't an alcoholic drink. So he gave kind of a funny look because my mom is kind of a, you know, church-going, non-drinking lady. And so she drank that Shirley Temple and she ordered another one, and every time he was kind of giving her a funny look because he thought she was ordering like an alcoholic drink. And she started putting on a show and acting a little bit like she was drunk a little bit more. And she had her third Shirley Temple and she started acting even more drunk until finally she let him in on the secret that it's not an alcoholic drink, and she was just totally pulling his leg. It's a really funny story. So I'm very familiar with Shirley Temples. We used to order them all the time at the restaurants when we were kids. And so it smelled exactly like a Shirley Temple, that grenadine and that fizziness. That's exactly what Vicebomb smelled like to me. It smelled very innocent, very cute. And I was like, Vicebomb is the wrong name for this perfume. Vicebomb to me sounds like daring and mysterious and sexy. Vicebomb, like it just sounds like, I don't know, like not like a cute innocent scent. And I could almost picture a little sprig of basil or mint or some sort of greenery on the side of the glass, and it's exactly what I was getting was Shirley Temple. Fizziness, grenadine, all that. Very refreshing. And it basically just stayed very innocently cherry to me throughout the whole entire wear. So this is what happened with Ruby Red. As I had them one on each hand, over time, Ruby Red started becoming more cherry-like, and I started finding them more and more and more and more similar. And I was like, oh no, because cherry is not one of my favorite notes. I don't mind it, but I would never like go out and get it. Like it's not something that I love, but I'm just like, oh, cherry, it smells good, it smells nice, but I'm not passionate about it. So Ruby Red eventually became even more cherry-like than Vicebomb. So whoops, Ruby Red came right back off my wish list. So that's the story of these two. That evening I compared Oro by Omnia Profumi to Delox by Tiziana Terenzi. It's not that I was comparing them, but I always try to pick one to spray on each hand that kind of have at least in the same world of a scent profile. And I thought that these were both going to be kind of like a little bit deeper, darker, stronger fragrance. So that's why I chose to try these out at the same time. So Oro, I got a little bit of black licorice. I got a little bit of chocolate and tobacco, and it was a bit of a suede-like, a little bit of a myrrh, or like a little bit resinous like myrrh. And it was very good at first, for the first hour or so. I really quite liked it. My husband quite liked it. But it went very, very, very sweet later on, like too sweet for me. And as far as Delox, I got that kind of like oud and rose in the opening. It reminded me a lot of Rose Gourmand by Zara, which is meant to smell a lot like Intense Cafe and Roses Vanille. And it was that, I'm in love with that scent profile lately. So I did enjoy this. I didn't find it overly smoky for me. In fact, I didn't sense any smokiness at all in the dry down, which is a dream come true for me. Zara Rose Gourmand can sometimes go a little bit smoky for me. I did get that for Christmas for my husband and I do love it. But Delox I really liked, but it wasn't very strong compared to what I thought it was going to be. It wasn't all that long lasting either. So I'm still glad that I smelled it. I had another one from Omnia Profumi, which is White Diamond. That one I said smelled like coffee and grass, which made me think of Cafe Tuberosa by Atelier Cologne, because I remember when I first got that discovery set and I smelled that one, I was like, it smells like you spilled coffee on yourself and that was because you were rolling down a hill and got covered in grass stains, like coffee and grass. And that's kind of what that reminded me of at first. And then I thought I was getting some rose touches in it. I don't know if there's rose in it. This is just kind of my like quick first impressions, but it started also reminding me of that Intense Cafe Roses Vanille vibe, but not as much. Like this was more coffee and kind of green touches to it. So White Diamante by Omnia Profumi. It was just okay for me. So I think I have covered all the samples that I got in my last order. And you know, I'm never disappointed really if there are samples that I'm unhappy with or that I don't enjoy or don't like. It's still satisfying to me just to smell them. I just love sampling. It's what I find really, really fun. So in the meantime, now I have another whole batch of samples that I just got from The Scented. You guys know Yana here on YouTube, The Scented, and she has her own website where you can buy samples on there. And I have a new batch. So let me know if you're interested in seeing my thoughts on a whole other bunch of perfumes. Maybe I'll put up a screenshot as well of which ones are included in that order. And you know, you really can't depend on anybody else's description of a perfume. If I was going by everyone else's description of Velvet Chocolate and Lemon Tart and Coffee Addict, I may have purchased a full bottle. I've only had these samples a week, so my opinion could definitely change on them. But I do find myself wondering sometimes, like, why didn't anyone just say that Velvet Chocolate was medicinal? Or, you know, why didn't anyone just say that Coffee Addict is beyond sweet, beyond what anyone can humanly handle? Well, apparently they didn't feel that way, but that's why I sample, because I'm just interested to see what my take is on it. And let me know if you agree with any of my descriptions of these scents that I've sampled today. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye. Great thing about filming at my makeup table, this is my first time filming at my makeup table, I can like powder my greasy face every so often. This is great. Do I need a little more blush? I'll just use what's left on my brush from that, you know? Like, do I need to add a little more of this? Do I need a little more eyeshadow? Need a little more blush? Like, you know, I got it all right here at my fingertips.